Inside the vehicle, Manti Te'o, Jamie Erdahl here in L.A. It's Tuesday, April 28th. Willie Colon and Kyle Brandt hanging out in New York. Kyle, how's it going? What's going on with Willie these days? We missed being at the same breakfast table together, but perhaps we will see you soon.
Well, Willie and I are laughing because now we're in post-draft season. We're in that season when people start tweeting out how many days until kickoff.
Yep. Yeah.
Guess what the number is, folks, till that sweet, sweet kickoff. We are at 136.
Oh, not bad, not bad.
136. We can do that. It's doable, right? Definitely I thought it was going to be 20,000. That's what it feels like, but only 136. In the meantime, we'll still do all the draft recap, the projecting, the prognosticating. It's what we do here. Good morning, football. Jamie, Manti, Willie, Kyle, let's go.
I need it to be double digits. That's right. Welcome in, GMFB, everybody, on a Tuesday. Jamie, Manti, Willie, and Kyle. You know, you see some pictures every once in a while, and you're like, I think that could be the cover of a book. Maybe Joe Burrow feels like that about the Bengals offense, huh? Joe Burrow recently posted this photo of himself, great selfie, in a car, and some of his pass catchers on this Bengals offense after they got some work in together. Look at them.
Oh, yeah.
Look at them go.
Always.
It's a great headband. Jamar.
Gasoline fight.
Orange mocha frappuccino.
Rolling out. Yeah. Tell me it doesn't, Jamie. That's the gasoline fight.
Oh, man. This comes after. It's in the computer. Anyways, this comes after the Bengals missed the playoffs for a third year in a row. Oof, pressure is mounting. Since he needs to return to the postseason, are they going to do it with these guys? GM Duke Tobin certainly hopes so. He talked about it yesterday during his post-draft press conference.
I don't worry about the noise. The pressure is always there. That's this business. The pressure to win. That's what we're in it for. If anybody doesn't want that, they shouldn't be working in this industry. There's pressure. So, you know, it exists. It's always there. There's excitement. And there's frustration, and there's jubilation, but there's always pressure, and you accept that when you step into this line of work, and so maybe it becomes a little numbing because it's always there, but it's always there.
Come on, Duke. I need you to be more excited about the fact that your pass catchers are hanging out this offseason. I need you to see the picture again, please. We're all of a certain age here on GMFB. Do you guys ever feel like you do things out in the wild and the young people are like, we don't do that anymore? Are car selfies still in? I got to see it again.
Yes, so.
Joe with the very specific angle of the person who's taking the selfie. That's Mike Gesicki in the passenger seat. T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Also, are we still throwing up the peace sign? What is that?
Yeah, for sure. My question is why is Mike, who I assume is in the passenger seat, have the power of the aux? Like, I would love to know what jams were being played in that car, because whoever's in a passenger seat usually is a co-pilot, and he controls the aux.
I hate to tell you this, Manti. Again, you're aging yourself. There is a thing called Bluetooth, and people in the back seat can control it as well. It's not just about the length of the aux cord anymore. I hear you. It used to just be he who can plug into that cassette player that would play into the car, but no, it could be T or Jamar. Kyle, your takes on the selfie.
Well, first of all, Joe's not that young. Joe's going to be 30 this year. So, like, did the young people do it? Like, Joe's doing it. I like that Gesicki is in the passenger seat because I feel like at least if I was in that car, I would agree with some of his musical taste. I'm not sure why, but listen, that's a good crew too. We don't even have Yoshivas in there. Like it really is a good picture to set off a Bengals conversation because it's like, wow, look at all this firepower, but we haven't made the playoffs in years. It's a problem, and that's why we're here.
And Joe is showing off the delts there.
Let's be honest.
He's clearly letting people know he's working out.
Yeah, he's a specimen.
It's good job, Joe. We know you're working out.
Cutoff game is strong in the front seat there between Gesicki and Burrow. Manti, consider what Duke Tobin just said. Consider what the Bengals did this offseason so far and what they can do on offense with these guys. What do you make of their offseason so far?
Well, those two words, they got better. They got extremely, they improved a lot. Now, there's a lot of talk about the Bengals defense last year and how bad they were. They were the worst defense, especially in the run game in the NFL. But when you start to break this thing down from the weeks 1 through 12, yes, it was pretty bad, right? Al Golden was a new defensive coordinator. He came from Notre Dame. He's trying to get his footing again back in the NFL. But from weeks 13 on, they improved dramatically. So your offense went about this offseason and acquiring certain people in certain situations that can help them do what they do. They want to run man coverage. They want to run things that Al Golden does. Well, you put Dexter Lawrence in the middle of that defense. That makes your run game a lot better. You put two guys in the secondary that is used to communicating, Willie. I think they got better, and they got better in ways that there are conversations now in the AFC North that are the Bengals the favorite. We shall see.
Yeah, I'm with you, man, Ty, and I agree. It seems like the Bengals are done wasting Joe Burrow's time, and that's how I perceive it. When you add Dexter Lawrence, you get Jonathan Allen, you get Brian Cook from the Kansas City Chiefs, you get Boye Mafe. Like, you're letting the world know, all right, we're on the clock. We're going to go get this thing. But now the pressure's on Joe Burrow. Because Joe Burrow has to stay healthy. He has a defense. He has a receiving core. Now it's time to go get this thing. I think we've all kind of been sitting around like we know he's going through spells of bad injuries, but he has to find a way to stay healthy, and he has to find a way to deliver because, as KB mentioned not too long ago, he's a 30-year-old quarterback. And the window is now starting to shrink year by year. And for all you Bengals fans that have always been pounding on the table, once we get a competent defense, watch out. Well, here we are. Now you're going into the season with a legit defense, a legit offense, and now you're looking at a division where it's pretty much wide open. You look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. They don't know if Aaron Rodgers is coming back. That's still a question. You talk about the Browns. They're still looking for their quarterback, and can Todd Monken deliver? You talk about the Ravens overall. They're going into a new leadership and a new system. What does Lamar Jackson look like in next year? So if you're the Bengals, you feel like you're primed to go get it. Joe Burrow has to deliver, KB.
I hear that, and it does feel like it's time, and there's a pressure building. And I think, listen, how do I feel about the offseason? I feel pretty good. Like, they added defense. We added a really good defensive tackle. We added different pieces, a DN, the corner. Like, they're doing their job. They're not stupid. They're not oblivious. They understand that they basically have a 2026 NBA team for a football team. Like, we're going to jack up threes, and we're going to score 130, and you're going to score 122. That's like what the Bengals are trying to do. And I have the numbers. Like, during the Burrow era, 8 times Joe Burrow has put up 30 or more points and lost. In those 8 games, he's thrown for 3 or more touchdowns every game, and in a couple of them, he's thrown for 400 yards. These are in losses. So they're the NBA team. I think there's a lot of writing on the wall, too. We hear whispers. Burrow is unhappy here. If they don't do something this year, he may be gone. Burrow is a lot of things, and one of them I think is unpredictable because he's eccentric and he's an original thinker. I don't think he's just this hard-hat guy who's happy to be the NFL. I think he's got a lot of different ambitions and interests. I mean, he's an unusual guy. I say that as a compliment. Can you see him just saying, I've passed my time here in Cincinnati?
I do.
I saw people like Matthew Stafford who withered away in Detroit for years and finally like, I can't do this anymore. I wanted to bring a Super Bowl to Cincinnati like Matthew wanted to Detroit. I can't. I'm 30. I can't even get to the playoffs with this franchise right now. So I think it's all on the table. What is our level of shock if the Bengals go 7-10 this year and Burrow starts openly talking and wondering about leaving Cincinnati? Pretty low. And to my God, it's not like you have this gauntlet you have to go through. You're not in the AFC West. You got to beat Lamar, who has his own shortcomings in the playoffs, the Browns, who I don't know, and the Rodgers, who is 42. So it's sitting right there. You got to just hold the teams under 115 NBA points. I'm not asking for the 78 Steelers on defense. I'm not asking for any of that. I'm not asking for the 2026 Steelers on defense. You got to be able to keep them under 115 because you have the offense. And I think, listen, I'm not berating the Bengals. I think they understand what time it is, and they're going out and they're shopping and they're spending, and that's all you can ask. How has their offseason been? I think pretty good.
It's hard to imagine, too, Joe Burrow. He has dedicated so much of his professional career, at least, to supporting Ohio and Cincinnati. Like, he grew up there. He went to Ohio State. He gave it his best. But let's also consider that this is a college quarterback who went to LSU and became a total chameleon in Baton Rouge and fully fit in with that culture. Like, he is willing to do what it takes to go somewhere to win and succeed. And then he goes back to the Bengals. And for all intents and purposes, Joe Burrow in Cincinnati has been wonderfully charitable. It's all worked. But he also wants to win on the field and make it to the postseason. I just uttered a statistic to Manti Te'o, and I actually got a jaw drop. So I want to make sure, I want to pitch it to the table. All right. So consider the fact that the Bengals, since 2022, have spent 8 of their last 9 top 2-round picks on defense. So the 9 opportunities to pick in the first 2 rounds, 8 players. They're trying their best on defense, but to Kyle's point, they're just putting up threes. The focus and the success has been on offense. How about this, though? The Bengals are have the longest active drought without a homegrown Pro Bowler on defense. They cannot draft a guy on defense and he becomes a Pro Bowler. They've gone 62 players worth and they have not made a Pro Bowl. Is that homegrown?
A draft.
Trey Hendrickson does not count because Trey was drafted somewhere else. He comes in, he plays well, he moves on. Dexter Lawrence doesn't count. So, Willie, you hear that? You hear the fact that the Bengals just can't seem to get it right with some of their picks. And what do you think that does for a culture of a team that has to be able to succeed in all 3 phases?
Well, Pro Bowlers don't make an elite defense. Continuity does, and chemistry. When I think about not having a Pro Bowler, you know, I think sometimes listen, for everybody that's made a Pro Bowl, congratulations, best of luck to you, you're awesome. But nevertheless, man, I played with an historic defense when I was at the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know what an elite defense looked like. And the theme amongst those guys was selflessness. Those guys played for each other. Those guys went to war for each other. And those guys believed in one goal, get it done at all costs. And so as much as you want to say, yeah, they don't have Pro Bowlers, they just don't have a body of guys that have all played together for a long time where they can believe in the one goal and believe in the culture. And so that's the biggest issue with the Bengals. They got to start getting guys, fundamental pieces, cornerstones and pillars that can say, hey, this is our defense. This is what we're going to lean on. This is what we represent, and grow within that. That's been the biggest issue for the Bengals. And so Pro Bowlers is great, but I think right now it's just about continuity and chemistry. That's what they got to build.
Yeah, I agree with you, Willie. When you look at the Cincinnati Bengals, you don't have one guy, especially in a certain position, that you could point to and say, hey, do it like that. So you don't know what you don't know. And unfortunately for the Cincinnati Bengals, they haven't had a defense, or at least a middle linebacker or a safety. There are certain positions on the defensive football field that are so important to the development of a defense that can dominate. When I look at Trey, he plays a position like DN, and we've seen it year in and year out that you could be a DN that has led the league in sacks and quarterback pressures, but that doesn't amount to wins. It's like the quarterback. You could throw for 1,000 yards, but that doesn't necessarily mean you win. But there's a stat that if I look at your D tackle, and your D tackle is one of the most dominant D tackles in the game, it's like having a running back that is leading the NFL in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. That usually equates to more wins. So now that you have somebody like Dexter Lawrence, there is so much emphasis placed on Dexter Lawrence, not only as a football player, but on a very, very young defense that has struggled in the run game, to say, hey, listen, play the run game like Dexter Lawrence, and I promise you we will be good, Jamie.
You know, I spent the morning just needing like some motivation here for GMFB. So I'm looking for some good quotes to move on. We have Gary V coming on the show later. So I'm like, what's a good Gary V quote I can kick around? Here's the Gary V quote. See all that is good. Be grateful for what you have. Happiness comes from perspective, not outside forces. And also go Jets, because that's what Gary V is going to come on and talk about. This is a man you know to be all too influential on social media, but Gary V knows a thing or two specifically about the Jets. And also the 7th overall pick in the Commanders drafted Sonny Styles. Gary V's got a friendship with the Styles family, Kyle. We want to hear about that. And also JETS.
No doubt. And after drafting 2 studs in the first round, Arvell Reese and Francis Mauigoa, can we get excited about the Giants? Are you already there? Roger Goodell's excited about the Giants. Who isn't? Are we buying the G-Men hype? Who's more likely to win 9 games this year, Giants or Jets? Or both? Why the hell not? We've waited. Let's do it. Good morning, football. Don't go anywhere.
There they are. Orange, Boca,
I've still never seen Zoolander, but I know all the quotes, and that's what's in that movie. You know that, Jamie. I've never seen it.
Well, now you're just doing it on purpose.
Got better. Love it.